Any question you have,
Page,
it'll be answered.
page
No
308,
matter what you think about it.
the laws of bris milah.
Want to go to
So,
the next page?
308. One of the most emotional parts of a bris milah is the naming of the baby, which takes place shortly after the bris. By the way, we've been through all the details of bris, including mitzitza b'peh and everything. And last week, we were all at a bris of a friend of ours, and all of this chabura were watching the moil very carefully, because, they knew all the halachas. It was very, very interesting. So now we're talking about the naming of the bris. There are two brachas. There's Yedid Mi Baten, and then Elokeinu Elokeinu Eloseinu, and then the child is named. So the Gemara explains the name of a person can indeed influence their lives. It's not so partial when we give a name. It says Masech the brachas Daf Zayin, Rus. It says my Rus, Amr Rav Yochanan, Shezachsa v'Yatsa B'Mena David, that came out of Rus came David, Sheriveyu LaKadosh Baruch Hu b'Shiros v'Shishbachos. The Riveyu is like she flooded HaKadosh Baruch Hu with Shiros v'Tishbachos, and that's why she merited to have David HaMelech as an ancestor. So the word Riveyu is similar to Rus. So, and Minala Deshmo Gorim, and where do we see that the name actually affects things regarding a person's life? Amr Eliezer to Amr Kra, L'chu chazu mifalos Hashem. Go look at the way Hashem did. Asher some shamois bo'aretz. That shamos refers to things that are destroyed. And like, look at all the various destructive things he did. So the Gemara says, Al tikrosh shamois ela shemois. It means, look at what HaKadosh Baruch Hu did, who made a lot of names. He didn't say he made a lot of people on earth. He actually created the names. So the Arizal says that Hashem provides the parents with the idea for the name of their child. In Shar Gulim, the Arizal writes, Kasher noilad ha'adam, v'korim lo aviv v'aviv, aviv v'imo shem echad ha'oila b'daitam. They think they're thinking about a name. Ein about kroy v'zdamin. It's not the happenstance. Ki HaKadosh Baruch Hu mesim b'fiv Hashem, hahu amuchrach el hanasham hayi. HaKadosh Baruch Hu somehow slips into our mind the name that somehow is appropriate for this specific neshama. And he quotes this pasuk, Asher Sam Shamois Ba'aretz, which we learned already, Al Tikra Shamois El Shemois. This is some kind of mystical concept that there's a Adam Arishon that was created on the ground, and there's an Adam Arishon in Shamayim, and the Aver, his sexual organ, whatever that refers to up in Shamayim, and somehow from that place is the various souls that are placed into human beings here on earth are sort of carved from. And the name is actually registered on the Kisei HaKoved Kenoida. Zal Shmo Gorim.
I don't understand. I don't understand what he's saying. What's he saying? In other words, you name a baby, you name a child.
Right.
It's after a loved one that passed away.
Okay.
So what's all?
But there's many loved ones, and what the Arizal wants to say is the shame that popped into your head. It's not just a stamos that popped into your head. It is particularly appropriate for that child that was named. So Shlomo, you named him Shlomo. Yes, I remember Moshe's father was Shlomo.
Right.
Right, but it was appropriate for his neshama.
No,
Well, he's saying that Hashem,
Shlomo,
whatever.
no, he was still alive, so we couldn't name
Okay,
him.
so Shlomo was a grandfather.
The grandfather.
Okay, right. All the girls.
Right.
Mrs.
Mechel
Grun and the Grossman's
Mechel
mother was
not Shlomo.
so
Grun.
was Shlomo the father of those
Right,
girls.
Mother's brother.
Yeah. Okay, but it was appropriate for his neshama, even though you thought that that's how you came up with it. That's what the Arizal says.
Oh, he's saying that Hashem puts the name in your head.
Correct.
Basically, that's what he's doing.
So for this reason, one should consider that the name that one chooses for a child very carefully, as it states in Medrash Tanchuma, that the names of the spies corresponded to their negative traits. Says the Medrash Tanchuma in Parshas Azinu. It says, "Zechor yemos olam, binu shnos devador." Remember the days of yore. La'olam yivdak adam b'shemois. You should be very careful when you name somebody. Likro livno haroi lios tzadik. That you should call him after he should be a righteous person. And his name might be Goyim, that he won't be a righteous person. Ki lefamim Hashem gorim tov o gorim ra. Kemosh matzina b'meraglim. It says Shamua ben Zakur. Al shalosh shama b'divrei hamakom. U'ki'ilu shal b'zechura. Zechura
Turning
was...
it around, Shalosh Shamu. You call him
right.
Shamua,
No, but it's based-
Shalosh Shamu.
no, but it's based on the
It's
Zak-
like twisting it to make
No, but it's based
to
on...
make your point.
No, Al shalosh shama b'divrei tzadikim, and therefore he was following Zechura. Zechura was the name of an Avodah Zarah. So it's the Zakur part, Bernie, that the Gemara had a problem with, not the Shemua part. And then it says, oh yeah, he listened to Zechura. Shafat ben Chayri, Al Shaloi Shafat es Yitzro. He didn't judge his Yitzro properly when his Yitzro Hara was telling him to do something. He was not the proper Shoifet, and therefore Nasa Chayri min Aretz. He became a ben Chayrin. He was Hefkervelt. He lived without regard to anything. And Yigal ben Yosef, Al Shahotzi Diba Al Aretz. Lekach Nesaf Below Ito. He was gathered up, the concept of Yosef gathered up before his time because he said Lashon Hara. Palti ben Rafu, Paulat Atzmo Mimasim Toivim v'Rafu Yodav. He vacuumed himself. Paulat was like that or you removed yourself, like the Sheris HaPleta, that which was removed, right? And therefore his hands became weak. And Gadiel ben Sodi, Diber Dvarim Kashim Kegidin. Gid is like a sinew, like a tendon. It's very hard. Like when you eat it, when you chew it, it's very hard. So you see, the name, if it's not appropriate, can be Gorim Ra. So the notion that some names can be associated with negative traits appear to be linked to the statement of the Gemara in Yom as well, that one should not name a person after one who is wicked.
So how does Avshal Katz get a name?
Hang on, very good. It says Masechta Yom Lamed Ches, my v'shem Rishon Yirkov. It says the name of the Rishon will literally rot away. Rabbi Lozer, Rekivas Tala Bishmos, and there should be rottenness in their names. And what does that mean? Delo Maskina Bishmayu. We will stop using their names. Their names will rot away because nobody will use it anymore. Perush, the names itself will go away. Says Rashi over there in Yoima, Lo Yikra Adam Livno Shem Adam Rasha. You shouldn't use the name of a Rasha to name your child. Benam Yosodam Rabbanon Shem Hashem Yirkov. From where do they get this chazal? Amarle, the Hogsleeve of Shem Hashem Yirkov, because it says Rishon Yirkov, the name should go away. Midaraisa Minolan, but that's not a post. That's an apostle in Mishlei. What about Minat Torah? Dichsiv Vayehal Ad Stom. So it says when Lot separated from Avram, he planted his tent in stone, and immediately afterwards, the moment they mention stone, it says V'yanshe stone Ra'im v'Chatahim L'Hashem Eod. So the moment the name is mentioned, you can see that it immediately attacks something wicked to it as well. So you shouldn't name somebody after wicked.
No, Ernie, it's interesting because in this week's parsha, Esav's wife, who marries Nechiti, her name was Yehudit.
Go ahead.
So,
And we name after Yehudit.
Yeah.
So first of all, do we know for sure that Yehudit was a Russia because she married Esav?
yeah, she was the bad one. He should have divorced. Remember?
Yehudit bat basmat at the end. That was last Machlas. Oh, Machlas was the good one. Yehudit was the bad one. So Hillel asks a good question. So, for example, my name is Elimelech. Elimelech was the wife of Naomi, who left. No, the story of Rus. Remember, Elimelech and Machlon Mechilion abandoned Eretz Yisrael. He was the Gadol Ador, and he left. So how could it be that we named Elimelech? We have people named Yishmael, Rabbi Yishmael Kohen Gadol. So Hillel says, if we have a name Yehudis, how can we use Yehudis? So he asked a very good question, which we're going to deal with. So the halacha of not naming someone after a wicked individual is not brought down in halacha by the Rambam or the Shulchan Aruch. It's mentioned by Achronim. One of them is the Yalkut Yosef. Yalkut Yosef is the son of Avadia Yosef, and we quote him many times. The Tzur Rabbanan program, as you can see, works. We will always start, usually from the Psukim, go to the Gemara, then we'll go to the Rambam, Tur, Shulchan Aruch, the Ramah, maybe the Shachan Taz, and then the more contemporary poskim, Rav Moshe, or Rav Ovadia, the Tzitz Eliezer. So it'll really be brought down to our halachas today. So ein likro livno b'shem k'shemo shel anosim ha'formosim b'rishosam. So the Yalkut Yosef says you should not name people after Rishonim. Ela b'shem shel anosim tzadikim v'chasidim. K'Avrom, Yitzchak, Yaakov, Moshe, Aaron, David, Yishloim, v'chayotze. Nevertheless, there are a few instances where we find leniencies to name a person after the wicked. And we find it in Tosfos there from the Gemara Yoma that we quoted. Tosfos is going to cite a discussion of Chazal, whether one may call a person by the name of a wicked person if a righteous person also shares that name. So we know Yehudis during Hanukkah had the 7. So there was a Tzadekis Yehudis as well. So that could be the nafkamina. That
No,
is,
but that's not what his
Yeah.
thought was not to name, let's go back to Avshalom Kaus, this is what.
we're going to get to Avshalom. We're going to get to Avshalom. We're going to
That's-
specifically mention Avshalom. But what right now Tosfos is going to bring proof to is that, fine, Hillel mentioned a Yehudis who was a Rasha. But later on, if later on in Jewish history there's somebody who was not a Rasha, who was a tzaddik, then that might be a leniency where you could use the name.
But then there's no punishment of the wicked people's names being decayed.
So let's see how Tosfos
And
learns.
why
And how did that
why
person,
did that
how did
Darren
she get
mention-
named
yeah,
after a
that's
wicked
right. Why
person
did
to
that
begin
happen?
with?
So let's see. So let's see.
The father didn't get
Well,
the
what was
message.
So the Gemara said, the Gemara explained, Shem Rishon Yirkov, that it's going to rot away. Why? Delo maskinu bishmayu. We are not going to continue using those names. Says Tosfos, commenting on that specific Dibra Maschul Delo maski bishmayu. The Perak Basra Diksubis. It says Shnei Dayanim Gzeiros. There were 2 judges, Admon v'Chanon ben Avishalom. Now, what do you mean Avishalom? Goris Rabbeinu Tam Avishalom. So Rabbeinu Tam said that it's not Avshalom, it's Avishalom. Why? Mishum Amar Rab Meir Bechelek in Perak Chelek Sanhedrin, Avshalom Ein Lo Chelek L'Olam Haba. You can't name Avshalom because Avshalom was a Rasha and he has no Chelek L'Olam Haba. He rebelled against his father David. So the Rabbeinu Tam changed the girsa to say Avishalom, not Avshalom. V'ashkechan Hashem Adam Avishalom k'nechsiv Bas Avishalom, because later on in Malachim there's another use of the word Avishalom, so that he could use that. V'chein b'perek Hamad Shabbos Karsinon Hillel v'Shevna, and Shevna Rasha Haya. So v'yesh mefarshim the trait. So the question is, how could somebody be named Shevna who's a Rasha? So the Gemara says there were 2 Shevnas. K'dechsiv b'Yishaya lech bo al aseichen hazeh al Shevna asher labayis. So there was a different Shevna, not necessarily the Rasha. Uksiv brasrei malach hapo. Mashma that Shevna shaya Rasha. Uksiv brasrei later on it says vayiki shmo melech hizkiyo vayikra, he tore his garment. Ad v'zos, but later on in Melachim, another parak, it says Ad zos Shevna hasoifer v'saskenim ziknei kohanim miskasim b'shakim alma acherhu v'keven de'echad hayat tzadik maskinin b'shmei. So since the Tosfos showed that there was a Shevna who was a tzaddik, so just like over there, Avishalom could be named Avishalom. And Rabbi Kiva Eger lived 1750 to 1800. He was the father-in-law of Chassam Sofer. Chassam Sofer passed away 1815. Just so we know time issues. And Rabbi Kiva Eger, by the way, I want to make a statement. Rabbi Kiva Eger was the final posek in the Achronim. So much so, I'm going to tell you a story that I've heard before. There was a child born in Bnei Brak in the 40s or 50s. We know that the malach, that we're taught kol Torah kula when we're in the womb. And then the malach gives us a kiss, a philtrum, and we forget our learning. But there was a child born in Bnei Brak who was literally 2 years old, 3 years old, was babbling kol Torah kula. And they brought him into the Belzer Rebbe, to Rabbi Ara Lebelz, was still alive. Rabbi Ara Lebelz passed away in 1957. And they had a session for B'Yechidas, and when he came out, he didn't know, he had forgotten everything. People still know who that child is. And what I once was told, that what does it mean Kol Torah Kula? When it says that he knew Kol Torah Kula, what is it that he knew? So he knew everything. Shas, Bavlik, all the way up until Rabbi Kiva Eger. And then that's it. So I like that story. That means Rabbi Kiva Eger is literally Torah mi Moshe, it's literally Torah mi Sinai, because this kid knew everything all the way to Rabbi Kiva Eger. This is something to remember. So Rabbi Kiva Eger says, Lo maskinon bishmo de Rasha. You really shouldn't name a Rasha. Aval im nikra kain shem adam tzadik, Afagav the Gemrosha Nikra Ken Maskinim Bishmei. So all of those of us who are named Elimelech, it all occurred after Elimelech Melezhensk. Elimelech Melezhensk was from the third Talmidim of the Baal Shem Tov, was the Talmud of the Maggid Mimezrich. Somebody named him Elimelech, and ever since then, Chassidic families named their children Elimelech because it was a tzaddik, Elimelech Melezhensk. So you have a kash on who he should have been named Elimelech. But you find that for generations you did not find the name. You don't find among the Gaonim and among the Rishonim, we don't find the name Elimelech. You only find it after Elimelech Melezhensk. Now you find many Elimelechs. Well, hang on about Yishmael.
Elimelech
because-
appeared in Bereshis.
No, that's Avimelech. We're talking about Elimelech. Elimelech was not a name that was used. It only started to be used again after Elimelech Melezhensk because he was a tzaddik, so people named after Elimelech. According to the Ritva, it's also permitted to name someone after a Rasha who later repented from his sins. Says the Ritva, the Lomaski Bishmayu, Pirshu B'toisves, Kimashin Krem Shem Tzadik Yishmael, Kishma, that which people were naming people Yishmael, Kishmo Shishma ben Avram, Shaya Rasha, Dahainu Mishum the Sviralon, Kiman da Amar Kishmael Asa Tshuva. Right? There's a machlokas, did Yishmael do Tshuva, did he not? But must be that the mandama that says you could name Yishmael ben Avram must be according to when he did Tshuva. Or Inami, the shiny Yishmael Shekadosh Baruch Hu Korabos Hashem. By the way, Yishmael was given the name by HaKadosh Baruch Hu, because he was told, Avram Avinu was told to name him Yishmael. So since, even though he turned out to be a Rasha, Hashem named him, meaning Esav was not named by HaKadosh Baruch Hu. So nobody is named Esav. But Yishmael, that's another reason the Ritva says maybe you could give a name. Says the Pnei Yoshua presents a novel approach that only names that themselves refer to wickedness are forbidden to use. That means the etzem of the shame has to be a bad word. But the names of individuals who were wicked is permitted. But he didn't really use it practically. It says, so Doeg was the person in the time of David HaMelech who cursed David HaMelech. Doeg was of the opinion that David was a mamzer because of Yishai had 7 sons, and then he had an 8th son, which was David, and it was a question whether he was, that's one issue. Then the other issue that Doeg held, that Rus was a Moavite, but it was only later on that they had to say Moavi v'lo Moavite. But there were still people who claimed that David HaMelech, not only could he not be king, he was Asur Lavo B'Kahal. This went on throughout David's life, even after David's life, until Shlomo HaMelech, when he tried to bring the Aron HaKodesh. Remember, the Aron HaKodesh was in Ir David, and he built the base of Mikdash, and it was a little tent in Yerushalayim, in Silwan, but eventually they had to move it into the big, and then the gate would not open. So one of the psukim we say on At Teresa, we say, Bavur David Avdecha al Tashev Pnei Meshichecha, and the gates opened. And that was a simon to Klal Yisrael that David HaMelech was a tzaddik. That we had a chazal like that. So Doeg, his name Uksiv Duyig. There's another Kri Uksiv where he's called Dvig. Shahaya Kodesh Baruch Hu Doeg Shemeyotzel Tarbus Ra. Doeg Adoimi was the Gadol Ador. If you go through the Rambam's Mesorah, right in the beginning of the Sefer Amada, the Rambam goes through the Mesorah, went through Moshe to Yoshua, and it goes through all the various Nevi'im who was the Balei Mesorah. Doeg was one of them. So Doeg was a tremendous Talmid Chacham, but somehow, because of his midas, HaKadosh Baruch Hu was always worried. So the word Doeg is itself a bad word. So what the Pnei Yoshua is saying is, it's not necessarily, you can name after a Rasha. It's just if the word itself is a bad word, you shouldn't use it. But the late Rabbeinu Tam L'Kosov, he points out that Rabbeinu Tam and the Tosfos didn't say that, so he was unwilling to rely on that leniency. Now, the poskim debate.
He was a Jew, Doeg?
Yes, of course he was.
He
He was a Domi, he was a convert. Doeg Adomi was a convert. The poskim debate whether there's a problem with naming a person after someone who died at a young age. According to the Igros Moshe, it's permitted. but Rav Yitzchak Yosef recommends doing so. Let's see the Igros Moiser inside. Hinei b'dover litin shem latina kanoilad. B'shem shenikra echad korv shemetz sor liyomim. Should you name somebody passed away early? Yesh b'zek tzakt peda, and people l'chara are concerned about that. Ta'isa b'yam shel Shlomo, a later Achron b'dinei Hashemus b'shem Yeshaya kosav. The af Yeshayahu Navi haya nikra Yeshayahu. Eina oilam regilim likros al Shem Navi mishum dereya mazal shenerag. Yeshayahu was in a tree hiding from Menashe Melech, and he was sawed in half because they cut the tree down. Yeshayahu died young, so his name is Yeshayahu. But you notice people are not named Yeshayahu; they're named Yeshaya. So, because of this issue that he either died young or he died like a Misa Meshuna, so maybe that's why people didn't name that. Elakoro Oso Yeshayas. This is what the Yam Shel Shlomo says. Al Shem Yeshayas Shenimtza B'Divrei Yomim.
A different one.
There was he was named in Divrei Yomim when it lists the various lists. He's called Yeshaya there. So they use Yeshaya instead of Yeshayahu, or maybe over there it's a different Yeshaya. Aval Kosav Shaharomosh Kosav the Tzarech B'Stom Lichtov Gedalyahu Im Lo She'omer V'Vadai Sheshmo Gedalya Polig. So like this. There was a person who was named Gedalia, but the Ramah says you should really write it Gedalyahu. Seems like the Ramah is saying there's no problem to name him Gedalyahu. Remember, Tzom Gedalia, but his real name was Gedalyahu. So the Ramah has a kapeda. Why unless the guy is upset about it, you should call him by his real name Gedalyahu, even though Gedalia was assassinated. So that's support for this concept that even if something bad happens, or he dies young or something, you could still use the name. So the Igros Moiser is showing us a machloikas between the Ramah and the Yam Shel Shlomo regarding whether it's a good idea to name after somebody who died young. Says the Yalkut Yosef, of course, the Sfardim are very concerned. Minaroy lahakpid. Shelo likra al shem misha niftar tzarir, or al shem misha nerag or niftar b'misa meshuna. Somebody died an unusual death. Lachein, im asaba niftar tzarir. If the grandfather died young, roitzim likra lenechad al shmo. They want to call the grandson. Hanachonu likra lo b'shnei shemos. You can do it. He's going to say, give a second name and use the name second. He's going to say, use the name second. The hainu shiosifu lo shem in amikra. The Yalkut Yosef says, "Me'ikra din." It's not an issue. We'll be proud al shem talmid chacham shenifter, and even as
they don't give the getter of what is young though. There's no getter of what is young over yet. 30, 40 years ago, you lived over, or 100 years ago, you lived over 50. That was considered.
So ein chanami in the context of our time. So we're talking about somebody passes away in their 20s or in their
There's a
teens.
tradition currently to name after someone from the family who was nifter.
It was a question of
So you see, there's a machlokas between the Igros Moiser is showing that you have someone to rely on, but the Yam Shel Shlomo says better not to, and the Sfardim certainly do not do it based on this on the Sephardic psak. What was that?
This is the child, first child. You have another child afterwards. They never name it after the first child.
Well, we're seeing some of the sources why that is.
There's something named after they do name somebody after a living person.
Hang on.
We don't.
Hang on, we're gonna get there. So right now we're talking about naming after someone who died young, because you see, there's been a kapeh. That's what Jerry's talking about. So there's the reason for that is this issue. So we see opinions that say you can. We see opinions the Sfardim says not. So the Avshalo Igil is Kain of the Seva Ein Shum Mania Likra Shmo. He says a Talmid Chacham who died young, there's no mania to call him that. But Mikol Malcolm Nachon V'Roy Likra Lo B'Shnei Shemos. But you should still use two names. V'Shem HaNifter Yukru B'Shem HaSheni. So the name that you want to use, you should use as the second.
I know a few cases where son is named after the fathers that died very young in the war, in Yom Kippur War. He wasn't even born when the father died.
Okay, so
You give the name.
the Igros Moiser says you have the Ramah to rely on. There's no problem. We're just seeing that there were people who were makpid not to do so.
So this minute
There
have
seems to
two
be a
names to
Sephardi
be.
minhag.
The Sfardim, are going to be very careful with all sorts of school lists and things like that.
Sephardi minhag.
Yes, Bert. No, the Yam Shel Shlomo was not Sfardi. That's the Marshal. He lived in Lublin.
They look at it as a cover to, sorry,
Go ahead.
What were you saying, Bernie?
they look at it as a cover to name it after somebody who died at a young age because they want to name it after that person and take his legacy. That's the way we look at it.
Like you do.
So, but I'm having a problem with the multiple names. We started out saying you want to be careful who you name after because that you are that soul of that person will live in your soul as well.
Go
right?
ahead.
So, but now you're starting with multiple names. People are naming 3 names. So it's total confusion. What does that
Well,
mean?
3 names is unusual. You want to say, your kasha is, when
Why
people are named
multiple
Avram
names?
Moshe,
Yeah.
L'chora, there's a bilbul. But maybe you want to give the whatever the Midah Avram had and the Moshe had, the more the merrier. We certainly don't see in Tanakh multiple names. We don't see that. The multiple names is a newer thing because,
You don't see anything in Tanakh, or even in the Gemara, you don't see
right, we don't see multiple names. Well, we have Abba Shoal, but Abba is really a title. A title. Okay. Enecha Bernie, it's a good point. So another possibility of naming someone after a person who died young or tragically is to change the name slightly, because Rav Moshe mentions it in the same tshuva. Aval nira de'im yishana Hashem b'michtzas mikfi shenikra choisoi ein shuv b'zek pei. Let's say his sister was named something. You change it a little bit, there's no pei. Kosav hayam shel shlomo sham. And the Yam Shashom apparently said that as well. V'lai kivnu l'malas hanovi v'shinu b'ktzas. That's this issue of Yeshaya, right? They changed it a little bit. They took it from Yeshayahu to Yeshaya, and there wasn't a kapeda. So the second suggestion is to have in mind that the baby is named after a tzaddik with the same name, as suggested by the Stipler, the father of Rav Kanievsky. Meaning, even if you're going to name the person after someone who died young, but that name is used by a great tzaddik, when you name him at that time, you should have in mind that kavana, says the Stipler. Of the tzaddik. Correct. B'davar shema misha niftar lo aleinu b'tziroso. Ragal ani liyait, so the Stipler would advise people, l'moshel k'shashem Avram, sheha'av b'shas kriya shashem yiskavi, that at the time of the naming of the baby, so think about this. The Stipler is not a chassid. The Stipler was a Litvisha, right? But so you see, even in the Litvish community, he's advising people to have certain kavanas during the naming. Shem chas v'sholom lo mutzlach she'nikra al shem Adam Ploni, yeh Shem Avram al Shem Avram Avinu, for example. Let's say there was the name Avram was the person who died tragically. You should think about Avram Avinu. Or al Shem Aravid, right? The person who would battle the Rambam was also Rav Avram. Or Shem Tzadik Acher she'adua shayu Shem Avram. But often shekra Shem Shirotze. So you can still use the name that you want. Elasha kavanat tiyek kinizkar le'el. The kol sheken im Yosif od Shem v'araitov. Notice the Stipler is throwing that in as well. Add another name. So, is it permitted to give a child a non-Jewish name? Now, Hillel doesn't have that problem, but Elimelech, it was named Ernest, and Velvel was named Walter. Chaim doesn't have the problem. Now, Alexander, I guess Sydney is not Alexander, so that is an English name.
What about Zelig?
Okay.
What's Zelig?
Well,
Mario
Mario.
Zelig is a Yiddish name,
It's a Yiddish name.
so that's good. You don't have
Mario
this
is a
problem.
Jewish
It's
name,
not a
Mario.
Goyish name.
Mario, yeah.
Well, it's not a good.
So, can you use a Goyish name? There's a machlokes achronim.
Smart of you, son.
The Maram Shik, right? The Maram Shik lived about 1850, 1860, was the Talmud Muvak of Chassam Sofer. And a lot of remember, Edison, the telephone was 1850, 1860, the steamboat. We only start seeing modern psak by the Maram Shik, who starts mentioning a lot of these things. The Chassam Sofer, there's a few, the Rabbi Akiva, very few, because remember, 1780, 1810, nothing's really going on. It's still almost like the Middle Ages. You only start seeing more modern psak in the Noida Yehuda, but it was also late. It was also early 1780, 1790. There's a few, those are the few where you see some, like a chicken without his head. They found a chicken without a heart, this issue of brain death. So all of a sudden you start seeing the Noida Yehuda, the Chacham Tzvi. In this area, the Rabbi Akiva, why are these the Achronim that are always mentioned, because they begin talking about some of the modern halachic issues. And really, the Maramshik goes to town with a lot of it. So the Maramshik holds that it's biblically prohibited to use a non-Jewish name. Furthermore, the Jewish people, so he says it's midoraisa, an isser, to use a non-Jewish name. And that the Jewish people merited to be redeemed from Egypt because they kept their names. Ra'iti, so the Maramshik says, the Maramshik, of course, lived in Middle Europe, in Germany at the time, 1850, 1860. There's assimilation going on. People are being named Hermann and Ernst and Adolf, right? And this guy who asked me the question really gave him tochacha. From the fact that the Jewish people in Mitzrayim didn't change their names, that was one of the zechuyos that they got out. So they answered, the people who were given English names, they said, we already have a Hebrew name, Lalot La Torah. So says the Maramshik, Zed Dover Hevel L'Tivshus. That's not an answer. Ki Vaday Yesh B'Zeh Isser Deraisa. K'moshe Koz of a Rambam in Perak Yud Alf Milchas Avodah Zarah, the Mikra Moli Nemer B'Sof Parshas Kedoshim, Va'avdil Eschem Min Ha'amim Lios Li. Umisham Yalfinam B'Sifri, says the Sifri, the Medrash there, De'en Rishayim L'Damos Lahem B'Shemov, and you can't compare yourself to Goyim in any way. The Koshu Osa L'Damos Lahem Oiver Amash Nemer B'Toira. The Osir Lanu L'Damos Lahem, we can't copy them. Ukeshem She'osir Lanu L'Damos Lahem B'Mabusham. We had a little bit of this B'Chukos HaGoyim when we learned that sugya. Uvehilucham, the way they walk. Uveshar Minhagim Manhaginam, Hu Adin V'Kosher came to Osir L'Damas Lahem B'Shema. We can't be similar to them in their names. Va'aleinu lasos k'moshas avosenu shnemer bahem. Va'yisham l'goy gadol. Darshu Chazal, we say it in the Seder. Melamed shar Yisrael mitzuyonim sham. That they were recognizable based on their Jewish names. However, the Igros Moshe says, although it's frowned upon and should not be done, there's no isser. The fact that we use Goyish names, vaday hu davar meguna mod. It's not a nice thing. That Chazal praised people who kept Jewish names. The chashvu zeh ma'advarim shebishvulam niglam Mitzrayim was this reason that they came out of Mitzrayim. Aval isser mamish lo matzinu b'zeh. He's rejecting what the Maramshik tried to learn from that Sifri that it's a doraisa dekadin. Aval isser mamish lo matzinu b'zeh. V'hu kamo lo shinu es lashonam. So what do you mean? When it says there by Mitzrayim that they didn't change their language, says Rav Moshe, the gam kenu me'arbod dvorim it was mentioned among the four things that they didn't change. Didn't change their clothes, didn't change their language. So they were supposed to speak Hebrew, so if Parsha Seikev, V'huva Barashi, B'fer Shachumash Sham Al Aposuk, L'daber Bam, right, they were supposed to speak Hebrew, Mikol Makom, Eino Isser. From the time that we were in Galus, and we were sent to Rome, and all the various other places, we don't find that the Gedolim, etc., spoke Hebrew. So if that's not an Isser, then having a Goyish name is not an Isser either. So in general, it is not accepted or recommended for someone to change their name, except for specific situations, such as where one is very ill. In that case, there's a special Mishabech recited after being called up to the Torah. However, one who changes his English secular name to a Hebrew name does not. That happened a lot in European Jews who made Aliyah to Israel, and they took on a Hebrew name. Does not require any special ceremony. There's a contemporary sefer called Korei Shmo, which talks a lot about these dinim. So he says, Shomati Magon Rav Mordechai Eliyahu, the former chief rabbi, She'almanas l'shanos shmo prati l'shem ivri. If you want to change, you make Aliyah and you have a certain English name, you want to change it to a Hebrew name. Ein tzarich b'tekes shinui Hashem. You don't need to go through the Aliyah b'Torah and the Mishabeirach that you make for when someone chas v'sholom is sick, you change their name. K'fi shenog b'mikrim shemosifim or mishanim shem l'tzarich refuah v'chadom. Like we see people either add a name or change somebody's name. Elo yachlitu mayom sheshmo kach v'kach. He should decide on this and this day, today is my name, is this. V'yodil l'chaver v'l'mekoyvim. You tell your friends and to your relatives. U'mikan ve'elech yakpidu l'kro lo b'shmo ivri chadash. And just people should just call him by the new name. V'kach shamati gam ma'aragon Rav Nevin Sal v'agon Rav Neuvert, the Shmir Shabbos Kilchasa. He heard the same halacha from them as well. For this reason, it's also important not to give a child an unusual name that they may be upset about when they get older. Says the Yalkut Yosef, and Roy Likrod Leben Bishmo She'ein Morgal B'fi Abris. You're going to call some crazy name, Roosevelt or Lincoln, or a first name I'm talking about. That's going to embarrass him. Sheyesh Lachu Shaben Yitztar Misham Sheyigdal. He's going to be upset when he gets older. V'im Shem Saba, Hu Shem She'ein Morgal B'fi Abris. We have a lot of, for example, old-fashioned names that our grandparents had, and we wouldn't name our children that because we didn't want to embarrass them. Yikra livno b'shem adom l'shem asaba, or sheyakri lo b'shnei shemos. You should still call. You should use a name similar, like Sprinza, maybe.
You take the
Instead, you
Yiddish and
use
you
a
find a
baby
Hebrew word
tzipor.
name.
You make a Hebrew name or whatever.
Yeah.
Ideally, one should name a child after a relative or a tzaddik. Though Ashkenazim and Sephardim differ as whether one should do it after a living relative or not. Minhag Yisrael likol shem aviv. Sabo. The minhag Yisrael is to call it after your father or after grandfather or shar krove mishpacha. Haminhag b'kilot Ashkenaz hu likro rak al shem krove mishpacha shekvar nifteru min ha'olam. It's not an Ashkenaz minhag to call somebody if they're still alive. Uminhag Sfardim latet shmot af b'chayim shel hakrovim. But the Sfardim, you'll have Moshe ben Moshe, right?
Where did the Sfardim learn that out from?
V'adover nechshav l'zgula larichas yameim.
Where did they
Yeah.
learn it out from?
That you have.
You don't see that in you don't see that in the Tanakh. You don't see that anywhere where somebody's named
Papa Bar
David-
Papa.
Da-
Papa Bar Papa.
Bar Papa. It's not the same.
Well, Papa Bar Papa.
Right, yeah, that's fine.
Bar Papa is a different.
No, bar means bad.
Papa Ben Papa.
L'rova shitos niten likro leyeled gam b'shem adom or l'shem haniftar, or l'tzrav l'shem haniftar shem nosav. Yesh omrim she'en likro leyeled b'shem shel mi sheniftar la'achal daso. But you should, like if someone, you shouldn't name a person after someone who dies after the child was already born. He's within,
Talk about working days before the bris. In other words, child's born on Monday, and the father passes away on Wednesday, you can't name that child after the
Yeah, it's
That's what he
interesting you
says.
say that because I know from my wife's family, there's somebody whose mother died in childbirth and they named it, it's like Rivka by Rivka.
Mhm.
So you're saying you shouldn't do that.
No, but that's only for that was only for a bris. 1 second.
somebody shouldn't be
Oh, no,
named.
You're right, yeah.
One shouldn't name a person after someone who dies after the child was already born. It means within the days before the bris.
Yeah, but then,
You should.
Yeah.
But there's
You know,
only
what's his name?
Ashkenazim.
Dr.
It's not
Goldman, his mother was pregnant with, his father was killed on the beaches of Normandy, and then he was born.
Moshe Zach was also seen.
That's Goldman.
Moshe Zek was also born,
Vera was pregnant, and when
Right.
she was born, his name was Moshe, named after his father was killed.
when Vera was pregnant. I see. So Koresh Shmo says, Roy Likrod Beno Bito B'Shemot Shel Tzdokim, Shel Tzadikim, or Shel Gdolei Ha'umam U'Forsamim. V'tov Likrod Livno Al Shem Rabbo. If you have a Rebbe, you can name it after your Rebbe. Omnam Akriya Al Shem Harav Name Mishpachto Kodemet Likriya Al Shem Rabbo. But family takes precedence. Now, once the parents have given a child a name, others should call the child by that name, as that is now their given name. It's permitted, though, to call another by a nickname or a term of endearment, as long as the person doesn't mind. Yeshin yan yuchad likro lo adam b'shem shekor lo horav, ach mutar gam likro b'kinui shel chiba, Dovidil, right? V'chein mutar likro lo chaver b'shem kitzur, kegon Avi, Roni, let's say his name was Aviezer, you call him Avi. Im eno shem gnai, if it's not a bad name. U'kamuvan yesh lakpit shebaliyala Torah, b'mi sheberch v'chayotze yazkiru et shem amalei. You shouldn't, of course, use that when you call him up to the Torah. Onan, im lo noch l'chaver b'kinui, asur l'chanos kach. If the person doesn't like the nickname, you shouldn't call him that. Afimein bokanai, even if the name is not the bad name. V'asur l'chanos l'chaver b'shem gnai. Gam chaver kvar rogel b'shem zeh, even if ve'eno makpid. If it's a bad name, you should not use him, even if he's not makpid on it. The dovers are chomer ma'od ad shomer chazal, shemakan Hashem al chaver yored legehenim ve'eno ola. So you shouldn't have like a bad, some kind of name to a person. Now, if a person is seriously ill, an extra name will sometimes be added. In that case, the additional name should be kept only if he ultimately recovered from that illness. But otherwise, he should no longer be referred to with the extra name. That means if he doesn't recover, you on the Matseva, you do not put the new name. No, you have to 30 days. Says the Yalkut Yod, Misha chalav osifu lo shem, achar shehivri, and it says it in parentheses, v'hichzik b'brioto lamed yom. So if he survives 30 days, yesh likro lo b'shnei hashemos, you call him with the two names. Ula'achar p'tirato yesh lichtov ala matzeva as beis hashemos. V'chein b'ashkova, and like, uvelimud seder mishnayos, when they create a list of mishnayos, and you do it based on an alphabet, utehilem al shmo, right? Im cholav hosifu lo shem umeis me'osu choli ein tzarich lichtov l'matzevas Hashem shosifu lo. So you don't add the new name. V'chein b'miras ha'ashkava, and when whatever things you say at the time of the eulogy, etc. V'chein b'miras ha'ashkava ein tzarich l'hoisif Hashem shosifu lo.
If he lives, do you add it to when he, for an aliyah, being called up?
Yeah, he says after 30 days that yesh likrolo b'shnei shemos. You call him with both of his names, and you put it on the matzeva, and that's now his name. And that's how he's called. We will conclude this section with a quote from a letter written by Rav Yaakov Ariel, who was the former chief rabbi of Ramat Gan, who's still alive, Rav Yaakov. He almost became the chief rabbi, he was the major Mizrahi candidate before Rav Stav. I mean, Rav Stav was in the last one, 10 years ago. Rav Yaakov Ariel was the major person, perhaps could have been the chief rabbi. So he's quoted in the Sefer Korei Shlomo about, in general, keeping this concept in the proper perspective. Tzarich rak lizar milihischaf uliaches l'nosa Hashem esdvarim she'en l'shem shachar. That means, kvar higiu eleinu anoshim uvikshu la'achliv shemos beglal bish mazel b'chayim. People have come to him. They want to change their names. They've had bad luck in their lives. They want to have a name change. But he says, "Ein mazel Yisrael." We don't hold by that. V'lo min Hashem uzeh. Ha'ikar tola b'toira b'tshuva b'tfil of masim tovim. Uv'makom lashkia energia, rather than waste your energy. B'chipus shem matim. You're in the search for a better name. Odif lashkia oto b'dvarim ritzinim yoter u'molim yoter. Gam b'bchirat shem leyeled. So he says in naming a child, Yesh li zaher minechushiim u'ma'onanim, superstition, avalatet liyeled shem harim sfurim sheyesh bo meser chinuchi chashuv. Parents should think of some kind of educational thing why they're naming their child that way. V'chein al shem tamid chacham chashuv, or al shem karv mishpacha, shoroi lansiach shmo l'doros habayim, to keep the name of that person going. Or shem acher sheyesh bo meser chinuchi. Ulam lo tamid shmo kagorim. Not always the name is what is gorim. You can't just rely on the name. The only thing is, don't name somebody after a bad person. Unless he did. Now, Pidyon Haben, page 318. Some of the halachas of mitzvahs Pidyon Haben. There's a positive mitzvah for a father to redeem a firstborn son of a Jewish mother. It says, "Vaydaber Hashem Moshe Lemer, Kadesh li kol bechor Peter korechem bnei Yisrael badam uvabema lihu." So of course there's a din of a bechor behema. A bechor behema of a kosher animal, right, has to be given to the kohen.
What do you mean Jewish mother?
We're going to see them.
If she converted, is that
Yeah.
still considered
Yeah.
a mother to a
Yeah.
Pidyon Haben?
Yeah, if she's never had a child before.
Oh, even if she had a child.
No, if she had a child, there's no Peter Rachem. It's totally in the mother. We'll see. It's the mother. It has to be the firstborn of the mother in order for it to be a Peter Rachem.
Converted, she's a new person.
Yeah, but if she was not a pet, if she already had a child,
She's not Peter
the womb
Rachem.
is not new. I mean, the womb has been opened already. So that's a mitzias. So there's a concept. She's a kekotin shenoila dummy, but not regarding psichas Rachem. So I just wanted to say that the Bechor Behema goes to the Kohen, and he has to bring it as a Korban Shlomim. He can't use it for a personal asset. If it gets a mum, so then it's mum and Kohen, but now he can shecht it and eat it, and it becomes his personal asset. It doesn't have to be brought as a Korban. So, but you have to wait until it gets a mum. That's why Kohanim were always suspected that they inflicted their own mums. So if they come with a mum, there's certain dinim of how you say. So that's Bechor Behema. A Bechor Behema Tmeah Chamor, there was a Petra Chamor Tivdeh Beseh. So there was an Arifa done, and they brought a Korban Seh. That was the way they were pointed that animal. But that was the only Behema Tmeah that had a pidyon. Now, but by a human, it says, but in Bamidbar, Uftu Yavi ben Chodesh Tivdeh, right? You have to wait 30 days or a month. So the pidyon takes place 1 month following the birth of the baby. Though there's a major dispute in the literature. Is it performed on the 30th day or the 31st day? So the redemption takes place using a Kohen, where the father redeems the firstborn from the Kohen who represents the domain of Hashem by giving him 5 shekels. So you have to give him 5 shekels. Now, I highly recommend that for further iyun on 327, we're not going to do it together. But last time we did this together about Metzitza Bepeh, but this one I think it's better read by yourselves. The status of Kohanim today means, what is the status? Are our Kohanim real Kohanim? Are they only Kohanim Midorabanan? Are they only Kohanim Midoraisa? What is the status of our Kohanim today? It's a very interesting read. So much so that the Vilna Gaon, it's known, that every Kohen he met, he gave them 5 shkolim. Because he was always worried the Kohen who did his Pidyon Haben, was he a real Kohen or not? So he would interview them, and do you have a yichus brief? And it's known that throughout his life, he gave 5 shkolim to almost every Kohen he met. Because he wanted to cover his bases, because he wasn't sure about who's a real Kohen or who's not. So the Gemara in Kiddush.
There's a thing of oives man, in other words, the man of the pidyon was.
No, because we're going to see, if your father didn't redeem you, you have a chiyuv to redeem yourself. So his father redeemed him, but he was concerned that maybe he wasn't a real Kohen. So he went around his whole life giving.
And if you were never redeemed?
Well, he wanted to be Makayim the mitzvah.
If I'm never redeemed?
There's a mitzvah of redemption. He wanted every mitzvah. The Gaon, when he died, the day he died, he was crying because his tzitzis. Look, he couldn't believe because the tzitzis cost like a penny, but how cheap it was to get a mitzvah. So for the Vilna Gaon, he was after the mitzvah. It wasn't the issue of dying without pidyon. He wanted the mitzvah of pidyon haben to be done in the correct fashion.
If he didn't do it, he didn't do it, but he tried to do it.
So the Gemara in Kiddushin clarifies that the chiyuv is on the father and not the mother. We'll see beferish that the mother has no chiyuv. But if the father did not redeem his son, that's not rami on the mother. The son now has the responsibility to arrange for his own redemption. Let's see the Gemara in Kiddushin. Torah Bora. There's a chiyuv on the father to do the milah and to do the pidyon haben. Lefadoiso minalon. From where do we know that he has to do the redemption? T'chsiv kol b'chor banecha tifdeh. Now the heicha do lo pirkei avua, and where the father didn't do it, mechayev iyu lemifraki. He has to redeem himself. T'chsiv, the person himself. The person himself. T'chsiv padot tifdeh. Now the ihi, the mother, minolon delo mifkedei. Where do we see that she has no chiyuv to do redemption? T'chsiv tifdeh tipodeh. The Gemara makes a sort of a play on the digduk of tifdeh tipodeh to say, kol shemetzufa lefadoses atzmo. Whoever has a chiyuv to redeem himself, mitzuva lefadoses acherim. So he has the responsibility of doing acherim.
Isn't that a mitzvah that says Shazman Groma?
The kol she'eno mitzuva lefadoses atzmo. But anyone who has not had a chiyuv to be foide themselves, ain't a mitzvah l'vados acherim. So she has never. The chiyuv is on a male, not on a female. So she has no chiyuv to redeem herself. So therefore, the ability to redeem somebody else is based on the chiyuv that you have to redeem yourself. Since a woman is not in the parsha of redemption at all, it's only on a male. If a female girl is born first, there's no pidyon haben. It's only on a ben. So that's how the female is rejected. Now, Hillel asked an issue of mitzvah sasei shazman groma. Technically, you have to do it after 30 days, but it can be done anytime after 30
The
days.
child is not capable of doing a pidyon at 30 days, or even at whatever.
can
No,
do
so when he
goes
becomes a
older.
bar
Yeah,
das,
There's no father.
So I mean,
There's no
the-
obligation to be.
Say it again?
If there is no father, the father dies right away.
so Bezdin doesn't have, the Bezdin had the chiyuv to do
Does she
Mila.
have a chiyuv to do a
You-
bris?
Bezdin had the chiyuv to do Mila. She has no chiyuv to do the Pidyon HaBen.
But does the best
Bris, I'm talking
But if
about.
she wants to do it, she
No,
can do it.
Bezdin had it. Remember, we learned Bezdin has it.
She can't do it
I
then.
mean, this is a practical issue in
Say
today's
again?
world. You have a single woman.
She has no chiyuv to
who
do
wants to
it.
have children, and she has IVF,
Yes.
and has a first baby
Yes.
born.
Yes.
Who is there a pigeon abed?
There will be a Pidyon, but she's not mechuyev to do it.
It's a bris, so
Yeah,
that-
bris there is.
explain,
No,
she's done
it's
it,
because
but
it's
she
a
said
baby,
he was
that's,
clear.
uh,
What do you mean
but-
she's
but
done
a
it?
pigeon
No,
abed.
she has no chiyuv to do the Pidyon. So
And-
we'll
and
wait for that
therefore-
child to be pointed
He
himself.
used to be put himself when
Yeah.
he gets older.
Yeah, because she's not in the parsha of Pidyon. Because of this, it's only because of this exclusion, because the Gemara excluded it. Since it's like the din of Hakafa, right? She doesn't shave, so she's not in the parsha of shaving. So she has no isser of that, because she's not in the parsha, or Psua Daka. She's not in the parsha of
All
that.
IVF babies have pidyon, just like anybody else.
No, but he's saying if
Without
there's
a
a woman
father,
without a
without a
father,
But still, there's a
Single
din
woman.
of pidyon, isn't there? I mean, there's a.
With
but there's no chiyuv on the woman.
No, but when the boy.
When the boy, he would be mechayev to do it himself. It's not Rami on Bez. Mila, it was Rami on Bezin if there was no father. Here we don't. Here is not.
But IVF, you can't make a shaliach like. you
No,
can
it's
make
forget
a
about
baby.
IVF. Let's say a single woman gets pregnant. You don't have to bring in IVF here. A single woman gets pregnant. Doesn't have, there's no a pregnancy. It's not totally the IVF issue. IVF today is treated like every other child. There's no
Or if the
difference.
father dies.
Or the father dies. Absolutely, the father dies before 30 days. Absolutely. Going to say for chinuch. What's the reason for this mitzvah? So it's in order to internalize that everything in the world belongs to Hashem, including our children. Mishor she mitzvah zu, shirotz Hashem l'zachuseinu lasos mitzvah bereshis piryono. He wants us to do a mitzvah with our firstborn, l'mandas ki hakol shelo. Ve'ein lo la'adam davar ba'olam. Person doesn't have anything in the world. Rak mashi chalak lo Hashem yisborach b'chasadah. V'yavin zeh, he will understand that, bir oto, when he sees. Ki achar sheyagia adam kama yagios. He's going to do all sorts of different efforts and works. The Torah kama trochim bolom. He's going to do this project and that project. V'yil is much sha'asuperia. Now he's going to bear fruit. V'chaviv alav reishis pirik v'vaseino, and his fruit is going to be favorable to him, like the apple of his eye. Miyad noitnu l'kadosh baruch hu. He should train himself to immediately give it to Kadosh Baruch Hu. Umitrukan reshuto mimenu umachliso reshuto baruch. He removes it from his reshus and gives it to reshus Kadosh Baruch Hu. That's one pshat that he has.
Obviously, woman would be very happy with this pshat. I mean, it's like, the pshat's nice, but
There's something feminist or anti-feminist here?
It says only a ben. So ben is the one that in other words, that's the one that you show HaKadosh Baruch Hu that everything belongs to him. With a girl, not necessary.
Va'od liskor anes hagodol she'osel Hashem yisborach b'bchor Mitzrayim shahar gam vitzlenu miyadam. So that's a better pshat for Walter. It's because I'm saying it's an easier pshat. The fact that the Bechor and Mitzrayim were saved, so that's why we do the Pidyon Haben. Because in Echadam, Walter has a point. Why wouldn't the firstborn girl?
No.
Why wouldn't the first?
The first man, they killed the
Not the
boys.
first part of girls.
They killed
There's-
the
Right,
Not Bechorah.
not Bechor. However, I've always been taught that a Bechorah has to fast on Tainus Bechorim, and that's why you have to bring home for the Suda for your wife. If your wife is a Bechorah, and let's say there's a Suda in the shul when somebody makes a
So
seal,
they were saved.
you bring home a piece of cake if your wife is a Bechorah. Is Ruthie a Bechorah? No.
Because they were saved.
Yeah, but if only the male Bechorim were killed, there must be an opinion that
It's your cake. It's the females also.
right. There must be an opinion that they were involved as well. That the Gzera was on them
Avraham
as
had a
well.
Pidyon Haben?
Say it again.
Avraham had a Pidyon Haben?
No.
There's none of
There
them.
was no din pidyon ben to Terach when he was born.
There was no, there was no.
No, he did for himself.
What about Yaakov, or you?
No. Well, there is an opinion that the Avos did all the Tag mitzvahs before the matan, before it was given. Says Shulchan Aruch, let's try to finish.
He wouldn't have given
Let's try to-
the Malachim, Chemaim, Chardal, and Lashon.
So mitzvah seilif. So how does the Shulchan Aruch bring down the halacha? Mitzvah seilif does kol ish mi Yisrael b'noshu b'chor le'imo ha-Yisraelis b'chamisha shloim shem 120 ma'im 120 ma'ah shem shloishim drachmim kesef b'sukkah. Says like this is very important. 30 drachmas of silver. Remember, this is Rav Yosef Karo writing in 1450 Tzfat. So the drachma was, I guess, used as a, and then we're going to see how that translates today b'zman hazeh. B'shar shenois lapidin l'koyim mevarech asher kishem mitzvot tzvanu al pidin haben v'chozer mevarech shechiyanu v'achar kach noisin apidin l'koyim v'poide atzmo. What if he does his own pidyon? Asher kishem mitzvot tzvanu lifdos habechor, and then shechiyanu. Says the Ramah. The Yesh Oimrim, the Afa Poide Atzma Mvarach Al Pidyon Ben Mechinov. So the Ramah says there's no difference than Broch by Ashkenazim. So from the first line of Shulchan Aruch, it's evident that the obligation of Pidyon Ben depends upon whether the baby is the firstborn of the mother, and whether it's considered Peterecha, meaning the first opening of the womb. This is made clear by the Shulchan Aruch later in the same simon. Therefore, if this is not the mother's first child, such as in the case of a miscarriage, where the fetus was developed past a certain point, the mitzvah does not apply. Now, if the baby was delivered with vacuum or other instruments, there is still pidyon haben. That's not a problem. It says the Shulchan Aruch, "Ein pidyon habechor toli ela bepeter rechem, shem ein habechor la'em, afal fish bechor la'av." That means, let's say the father married this woman and she's already been married to somebody else, and he's never had any child, but this woman has had children before. There's no pidyon haben. It's not peter la'av. It's not the fact that it's a Bechor La'av. It's not the same din as Yerusha, where that only follows Bechor La'av. It has to do with the mother. Here, it only has to do with the mother. Eino Cheviv B'Pidyon. So, says the Yalkut Yosef, Ben Bechor Shenoled Al Yedei Nituach Kesari, a cesarean section, Aviv Porter Milfado, so there's also no Pidyon. Ki Kedushas Bechor Hirakishu Peter Rechem, the Nolad Ba'ofan Ragil, has got to open the Rechem in a normal way. It's got to go through the cervix. V'lo nolad al yedei nituach kesari. V'chein haben sheyulad achrei ben she'eino ton pidyon b'mnei sheked maso achor. And a child that there had previously been another birth, there's no pidyon haben. Now, similarly, let's say the mother had a cesarean section, and then the next child is a son. It also doesn't need a pidyon haben because even though the other one it didn't come out the normal way, it's not the first child. So it has to have both milas. It has to be the first child, and it has to be Peterechem born another way. Sidney, you look confused. It says, "V'chein ben shilad achrei ben zeh." That ben that was born through the nituach ain't a ton pidyon b'nei shekad because you can't have any child doing the kadima. Okay. So I'm going to leave the last few halachas for next week. And we're going to start Hilchas Tzedakah. We'll finish up Pidyon Ben next week. Do we have Moshiach Esabach?